Today our topic is the influence of socialization process on personality development. So we'll see that how the socialization process in our life influencing in the developing our personality at different stages of the age. In 1956, psychiatrist Erik Erikson provided an insightful description as how personality develops based on his extensive experience in psychotherapy. According to Erikson, the socialization process of an individual consists of 8 phases, each of one accompanied by a psychosocial crisis that must be solved if the person is to manage the next and the subsequent phases of satisfactorily. The stages significantly influence personality development, with 5 of them occurring during infancy, childhood, and adolescence. So each phase has a challenge or a crisis, which is called psychosocial, and we have to overcome to go to the next stage. So it's mean it is the stage when we are solving this crisis, we are developing to the next stage in our life. These are the 5 stages of our life upon them our socialization process influence to develop our personality. Psychiatrist Erik Erikson, born in Germany 1902 and he died in America in 1994. He developed psychologist. He is a developmental psychologist and psychoanalyst known for his theory on psychological development of human beings. He may be the most famous for coining the phrase identity crisis, and he died in, like I said, in May 12, 1994 in Massachusetts, USA. These are the stages of psychosocial development of a human beings, and it starts from infant and goes to the older adult stage, and it increasing in the complexity from simple influences to very complex influences on the personality development. So let's discuss in the next slide these different stages. So phases of socialization process versus impact on personality development. So in infancy, trust versus mistrust. So do we trust people or we don't? So this is the crisis, like we have social psychosocial crisis we face, that do we trust people or we don't. Then toddlerhood is autonomy versus shame or doubt. So we should be autonomous, we should be independent, are we feeling the shame, or we are doubtful. Then preschool, initiative versus guilt, that we should take the initiative or we should feel the guilty or not take any initiative. Then school age is a industry versus inferiority, that we should be hard worker or we shouldn't be feeling complex, or we should be feel inferior. Then adolescence is identify versus role confusion, that what we have to do or what or versus if our role is confused. Then adulthood is intimacy versus isolation, we have to intimate with the people or stay with the people or stay alone. Then middle age is the general activity versus stagnation, so we have to be common things, or we should be have a normal person, or we should be have a status quo or staying on one place. Then middle age is like integrity versus despair, when we reach to the middle age, that we should have integrity or we should have despair or disappointment. Then old age, as we grow, impact become more complex. So these are the simply phases of socialization process: age versus what is the impact or what are the crises we can face, and we have to complete that phase to go to the next one. So these all things develop our overall personality when we become an adult. So let's see this table where the stages are there, with what kind of crisis we can face in these stages, in each stage, and then what are the favorable outcome or what is the unfavorable outcome. So this table is very good to see that how what are the challenges we have, and how we come out of those challenges positively or negatively. So childhood is the first year of life. Trust versus mistrust. So faith in the environment and future events. So positively, we our faith in environment and in our future events is improved, or the unfavorable is a suspicious fear of future events. So then the second year is autonomy versus doubt. So a sense of self control and adequacy. So positive thing is that we become self control, independent, and we are depending on our own self. Then the unfavorable is the feelings of shame and self-doubt. So we are shy, and we are, we have doubt in ourselves. So then third through fifth year is the initiative versus guilt. So ability to self-starter, to initiate one's own activities. So if it's positively we are developing, then we have take the self-starter initiative, and start our own activities. And then, but if we are not rightly developing the sense of guilt and inadequacy to be on the one's own, so we feel shy, or we feel guilt and inadequacy about our personality. Then poverty is the industry versus inferiority. So ability to learn how things work, to understand and organize. So we learn how to do the things properly, and how to organize, and how to understand, and how to complete the job. And but on the other side, a sense of inferiority at the understanding and the organizing. So we cannot organize things, we feel inferior. So these are the things negatively. Then adolescence is the identity versus confusion, seeing oneself as a unique and integrated person. So we see ourselves a our identity should be that we are unique, and we are composed, we are integrated, and then otherwise we are confused over who and what one really is. So we are confused over our own personality. Then adulthood is the early adulthood, intimacy versus isolation, ability to make a commitment to others, to love. So the positive thing is that we have a commitment with in our relationship with everyone, and we are responsible, and we are loving, and we are loved. So but the other side is, the negative side is the inability to form affectionate relationships. So we cannot make a positive or good relationship with other people. Then middle age is generativity versus self-absorption, concern for the family and the society in general, and concern only for self. So one own self being and the personal prosperity. So in middle age we can do about ourselves, our family, and our country, our society, but on the other side we are just becoming less selfish, and we are always looking into our own personal things. Then aging years is integrity versus despair, a sense of integrity and fulfillment, willingness to face the death. And unfavorable is dissatisfaction with life, despair over prospects of death. So these are the two. These one is we are ready for our going to, for dying, and the other one is that we are doubtful, or we are fearful about the death. So this is some of the stages, and what kind of crisis we face here, and what are the favorable outcome, and what are the unfavorable outcomes. And you can see or identify this within your own life or the people around you. So let's go one by one in detail each stages and their their crisis and how we overcome those crises. During the first infancy is during the first 2 years of life, an infant goes through the first stage, learning basic trust or mistrust, hope. Well nurtured and loved, the infant develops trust and security and basic optimism. Badly handled, the infant becomes insecure and learns basic mistrust. So if, like we have already studied that if the infancy in the childhood or when we are infant, if we are loved, if we are nurtured, and then it will develop a optimism, a trust and security in ourselves, and vice versa. The next stage is toddlerhood. The second stage occurs during early childhood, between about 18 months to 2 years and 3 to 4 years of the age. So this is called toddlerhood stage. It deals with the learning autonomy or shame or will. Well parented, the child emerges from this stage with self-confidence, elated with his or her newly found control. So if in this stage child is parented nicely, better, then child will emerge at this stage with more confidence, and he or she has more control over her or his personality. The early part of this stage can also include tantrums, stubbornness, and negativism depending on the child's temperaments. So if it is not properly raised in this stage, its behavior becomes stormy, becomes stubborn and negativism, and depending upon the temperament of the child. Tantrum is an emotional outburst usually associated with those in emotional distress that is typically characterized by the stubbornness, crying, screaming, violence, defiance, angry ranting, a resistance to the be specific. So this is some of the characteristics of the tantrum, and if in toddlerhood stage you are not properly raised. The next stage is the preschool. The third stage occurs during the play age or the later preschool years, from about 3 to entry into a formal school age. So the developing child goes through learning initiative or guilt or purpose. So in this stage, the major thing is that child or it start learning initiative or starting having a guilt or a purpose. So the child learns to use imagination to broaden skills through active play and fantasy, to cooperate with others or to lead as well as to follow. So these are some of the things child does in this stage. If unsuccessful, the child becomes fearful and is unable to join groups and harbors guilty feelings. The child depends excessively on adult, and it's restricted both in the development of play skills and imagination. So this is the stage, either positively to start taking the initiative, or on the other side you start feel shy, or not developing your imagination skills and no interacting skills with the other children. Next is the fourth stage is the school age, where you learn in the C or inferiority competence. So where you learn competency or incompetency occurs during the school age up to and possibly including junior high school. The child learns to master more formal skills relating with the peers according to the rules, progressing from free play to play, and that is structured by rules and required teamwork, are in participating in the team sports, learning basic intellectual skills, reading and arithmetic. At this stage, the need for self-discipline increases every year. The child who, because of his or her successful passage through the early stages, is trusting, autonomous, full of initiative, will quickly learn to be industrious. So become like a hard worker, and more responsible, and trust other people, become more independent and learn quickly. However, the mistrusting child will doubt the future and will feel inferior. But if the child is in the previous stages have developed the characteristics of mistrusting, then he or she will feel the doubt about the future and feeling inferior about him or herself. The fifth stage in child is the adolescence, and in where you start learning identifying yourself or identity diffusion or fidelity. So occurs during the adolescence from age 13 to 14. Maturity starts developing during this time. The young person acquires self-certainty as opposed to self-doubt and experiments with different constructive roles rather than adopting a negative identity such as delinquency. The well-adjusted adolescents actually look forward to achievement, and in later adolescence clear gender identity is established. The adolescent seek leadership, someone to inspire him or her, and gradually develop a set of ideals to live by. So in this stage you learn the ideals, that how you have to live your life, and basically it is a you identify yourself, who you are is kind of like we have studied the self concept. So so this is the stage where you learn and you enter into the real life. Fidelity is the quality of faithfulness or loyalty. Its original meanings regarded duty in a broader sense than the related concept of fidelity. Both derive from the Latin words fidelis means faithful or loyal. The next step in the adulthood is years 12 to 18 years. So in this we identify versus role confusion is the outcome of this stage, with the virtues being devotion and fidelity. At this stage peer relationships are most important, and these teen questions themselves as they are trying to figure out who they are and what their plans are, and they can experience role confusion if their parents are pushing a different version of themselves than they may feel. So here is like identity versus your role is. So you develop your own self, or if someone is pushing you which is different than your own role, what you think, you become confused, or there's a conflict in your personality development. Then the next years of your adulthood is from 18 to 35 years. Here your development outcome is this stage is intimacy and solidarity versus isolation. The basic strength are love and affiliation. It is the stage that we seek out a satisfying relationship and start a family. If someone is not successful in this quest, he or she may turn to isolation. So here it is the stage of intimacy or solidarity with the other people, or negative side is that you become isolated. It is love versus unloved, and satisfied versus unsatisfied relationship. You start your family. If you are successful, then it's good. If not, then you stay in the go in isolation. So next is the middle age, which is 35 to 55 years. This is the stage that people often feel they have a midlife crisis. So it is the generativity making your mark, or versus your absorption or stagnations stage are stopped. So you at this stage you make your mark, what you are. People start knowing you what you are, and then you either are, and you start growing things, absorbing things. But and the other side negative is that you just stop here, growing. This is the stage in which people often size up all they have done thus far and measure to see if they feel they have accomplished enough. So this is the time to take the inventory of your life, and often and then see that how, and measure it, that how far you have accomplished everything. So this is called midlife sorry, mid-age, and it is sometime midlife crisis if you think that you haven't accomplished anything, so it start, and usually it happens, and it is very confusing and dangerous stage as well. The next is the old age, which is like 55 and on. The basic strength in this stage is wisdom, and ego outcome is the integrity versus despair. So here is the strength of the stage, which positive is the wisdom and your ego outcome, and your integrity versus despair, that you are a impressive or a complete personality, or a or a despair, or a scattered, or a confused personality. At this stage, if people look back upon their lives and experiences are pleased, they feel integrity, while those who are not feel are despair. So this is the old stage where we feel completed or incompleted. At the end of this lecture, you have seen that there are many stages. Those are believed to go into personality development, and you may even be able to identify some of your own experiences in these stages, which you have already completed. So just see your personality and compare this with stages, and you have maybe idea for your future. So what kind of stages you are going to face, and how you have to develop your personality, and what are the factors, environment, your character, your temperament will become the part of your personality development. So this was kind of a simply different stages, how you socialize, and how this socialization impact on your personality development. So if you have any question, please let me know. Thank you.